What's up, world? Welcome back to Cancel Thoughts. It's your boy, Better Days here. Andrew Schulz, it feels like, has been everywhere very recently, and he's become one of the most recognizable faces in comedy, in my opinion. But very recently, he was doing a lot of promotion for his new Netflix special, which is actually pretty good, in my opinion. It's not his best work, but I don't necessarily think I was the target demographic for it anyway. But he ended up on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark, with whom he had a bit of a public back and forth or whatever about this joke that he made on his own podcast that I'm about to show you real quick.
Wait, what is the black girlfriend effect? This is
you don't know
You
about
just
this.
glow up the other culture.
Yeah, so you'll see a guy who's had a black girlfriend, all of a sudden he's got buzz cut, like clean shape up. Glows up, bro.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
They shave their hair because they start losing it. Because they're so stressed being around this black girl complaining about shit all the fucking time. That's why they gotta shave their hair.
Nah, bro. White guys with black girlfriends, they
grow
step,
a beard
they step their
because
dick
there's
up.
more cushion when they get slapped the fuck out of.
That's hilarious.
Now, obviously, it was a joke, and to me personally, I thought it was a funny joke, but a lot of people were really, really offended by this joke that he made or whatever, and to me, it's just an indication of how emotional and how easily triggered we've become in this society right now. But they pretty much talked about it, and they had a bit of a very good discussion, in my opinion, on this podcast, and I'm about to show you guys that clip really quickly. But before we get into it, you guys already know I'm about to ask you guys to do me a solid and hit that like and subscribe button for more content. Trying to make sure as many people find this channel as possible, and the only way I'm gonna do that is with you guys' help.
Like, I'll tell you what my you want to know what my initial reaction is, which I think is kind of unfair, but my initial reaction was when I saw you guys talking about it, and I was like, okay, he wants to protect black women, and this is very important. And then I looked on every one of the episodes that you had to see if there was any guys on here that beat up black women. Mm-hmm. And there were. And I looked to see if you guys addressed it on the pod, and you didn't.
Okay.
Now, I also saw you guys had the episode with DeAndre's mom.
And listen, this is, I think, one of the things that endears Andrew Schulz to a lot of people, and me personally, is that he's a very authentic, real, raw person. Most people would have never come on a podcast like this to someone else's podcast and just went, yo, this is the problem that I had with how you guys handled the entire situation. Very few people would have gone up there and just done that, and they would have pretty much tried to skirt around it and just like, oh yeah, I felt really bad about this going back in hindsight, and I want to apologize to black women. Andrew Schulz said,
yeah, I said it.
You guys said this about me, and you guys felt like I was trying to attack black women. Well, there are these people who have actually hurt black women, and you guys have not addressed it on your own platform. So are you guys really about what you say you guys are about?
Talking about domestic violence. So I was like, okay, this is good and this is powerful, this is important. But my knee-jerk reaction was, man, I get a whole section that's not even part of an episode, and these guys who we know have actually, like, for like a joke, and these guys who have actually like hurt black women and convicted, not allegations, because I don't go off of allegations, I go off of conviction. Everybody can get an allegation, it means nothing. And then these guys, they don't get anything. So in that moment, I was like, this feels like a clout play. It doesn't feel like the highest priority is protecting these women.
Now, one of the things that I've noticed, especially with situations like this, is that the reaction to a lot of these things are pretty much what a lot of people kind of just like make more than really what they are. And what I mean by that is that if Andrew Schulz was a black dude who made that exact same joke, I don't necessarily think we're even talking about this whatsoever. But the fact that Andrew Schulz is a white dude and he made a joke or whatever, even if you found it distasteful, it was a simple joke that was actually funny. If it wasn't funny, people would have just gone, yo, what is he talking about here? And the people that he was on the podcast with wouldn't have laughed in the first place. But even that aside, I'm like, when we talk about this as a community, we have to also understand that if we want people to start treating us based on the content of our character and not the color of our skin, we have to be able to take jokes that are predicated on that. Otherwise, all you're doing is having people walk on eggshells, and that's not necessarily the future that we want anyway.
So that was my initial reaction.
So I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
We have had people on this show that have been convicted for domestic violence that have pulled it out of the show.
That pulled it out of the show.
That I have asked about it.
Oh, and then they're
that
like, I don't want it on the show.
Yeah, and I do, because people come on our show voluntarily.
Of course.
I do ask those questions in respectful ways. Right, I'm not, hey man, you're a woman beater, but I will say,
Sure.
like in one of the instances that was pulled, I said, look, you were convicted of something that no man wants attached to his name.
Amen.
And they answered it we talked to their people. I was like, man, the answer was good, like, and they pulled it out of the show. So we've had that happen. We also had an instance with one of our guests who was talking about sexual assault, and he talked about it in a way that almost said that, okay, how do we blame the women? And I addressed that as well. Yeah. So as far as for me, I try to address it in every opportunity that I get a chance to with them. Yeah. I try to ask them questions in ways that they get to tell their side of the story. Yeah. When they sit with us, I do not bash them over the head with it, condemn them, or judge them in the moment.
Do I think these instances that he's talking about where people have asked for them to take it out of the episode happen? Sure.
However,
I don't necessarily know what the Pivot podcast is, and I don't necessarily watch their content or whatever, but I would imagine because Ryan Clark is a sports commentator type of person, I think they probably have on a lot of athletes and they're former football players, so I'm pretty sure they have a lot of former football players on there. And we know this stereotype for football players is that they have a lot of domestic violence stuff. So I would imagine they've had a lot of people who have been convicted of these domestic violence acts on their platform. So to say that you've had instances or whatever where these people have asked for it, sure. But do I think a lot of those instances are being addressed on your platform? No, I think there are things that probably went by the wayside. And listen, I'm someone who's sympathetic to this. There are things sometimes that you fail to touch on in certain videos or certain episodes of things that are just a part of the content creation journey. And I get that. But to try to make it seem like that's what it is for every single instance and you pretty much address it all the time, to me is just a bit disingenuous.
Yeah, I do try to have a conversation about it.
We're all like hypocrites. Like nobody's perfect. Do you know what I mean? Like I've had people on the podcast, like I've had a president on the podcast. Like nobody's killed more people than a president. You know what I mean? Like anybody who sat down, if you sat down with Obama, hundreds of thousands of people are dead because of decisions that he thought were in the best interests of America, right? Same thing if you sat down with Clinton, you sat down with anybody, right? Like, I did a buddy of mine's podcast, and he brought up the fact that I had Alex Jones on my podcast. He did one of the most heinous things in history where he said that those kids were faking it at that school shooting. Remember that? Like, that's a heinous, Sandy Hook. I mean, disgusting, heinous. I had a buddy of mine, I went on his podcast, and he was like, yeah, I can't believe you did that. That was like so fucked up, like what he did to those kids. And I was like, you visited the Pope. You know what I mean? Like, they were protecting people f***ing kids. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you had the opportunity to go meet them, and you're like, I'll do that. And like, they were literally protecting priests that were having sex with children. Like, I can't think of any. Like, so we can always find the moral equivalency or the moral high ground, which was a thing that I did with you guys. But I hesitated to like go out and talk about that publicly. This is why I did. Is because the point of that is not to protect those women or to protect the children. The point of that is to make you feel bad or me feel good. And now we're using victims as a tool. I don't want to do that. So it might make me feel good in the moment for me to go out and like go and talk on the pod and yada, yada, yada. But I was like, I don't want to use them as like a tool for this thing to feel good.
I really, really respect Andrew Schulz for actually going on this platform and talking to these people, because a lot of people are just not built like that. A lot of people will just try to skirt around it and just try to promote their special or whatever. And I think this whole situation and this whole scenario is just an indication to me of the fact that people have gotten way too emotional in our society. And it's also just like a lack of leadership in our community. And by our community, I'm talking specifically about the Black community, because all anybody had to do, especially if they were strong men in that community, is go to the women and go, yo, guys, y'all need to get over this. This was a joke. You can feel however you want about it, but to make it seem like this person is just like this racist person for making this joke, I think, again, goes back to the fact that he was a white dude making this joke, which, again, people need to really reevaluate some of their preconceived notions or whatever. But he was making a joke. It was a podcast. People laughed. It was funny. Let's move on. There's no reason for us to dwell on this nonsense because, again, it is nonsense.
I think the other piece of it is too.
So I made fun of your outfit.
Yeah, and that was I liked it because I was glad I was in the group chat.
Yeah, I just didn't want to like. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe it would have been like a justified thing, but also maybe it's like a conversation I could have just had with you on the side, you know, and understood perspective and understood the thought. Like knowing right now that, you know, you did ask them about that, but you respected their wishes to have it cut. Like I get that We had Mr. Beast on for another time, and I asked him about all these things that there was a lot of controversy going on, and we did the pod, and afterwards he's like, dude, can you cut all that shit? And I was like, I can't put out the episode then, man. Like, just because I feel like I'm doing this like fluff piece when like
We've done that.
Yeah.
The last thing that I want to say about this entire thing is comedians are always going to be comedians. It's literally their job to make provocative jokes. If they come off as funny, cool. If they don't come off as funny, feel however you want to feel about it, but you don't get to decide what people are allowed to joke about and what they're not allowed to joke about. And again, I'm going to also reiterate this point to any black woman who watches this video. Any black person in particular, actually, not even just black women. If we are really trying to be judged on the content of our character and not the color of our skin, then we need to be able to allow people to make jokes that are predicated on our ethnicity and not be so goddamn emotional about it, guys. These people make jokes. Are all jokes funny?
Absolutely fucking not.
But should we be reacting in this way to every single joke just because people are white or a different ethnicity from us? No. Get over it. Grow up. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you guys think about this entire scenario in the comments down below. What did you guys feel about Andrew Schulz talking to Ryan Clark about this entire thing? And what did you guys feel about the kind of back and forth that they had in this video? As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me on this video. You guys could have been anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be here with me, and I really do appreciate you. If you liked what you heard today, do me a solid and like the video, share the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Those things really do help out the channel a lot, guys. And if you didn't like what you heard, thanks for allowing me to occupy your time. Consider leaving a comment in the comments down below letting me know exactly what it was that you disagreed with, and maybe we could talk about it. Either way, I appreciate each and every one of you guys for pressing play on this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.